Hey guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing. Appreciate you guys joining me for today's video and hanging out a little bit. And guys, today, time of filming this video is the 1st of March, and I want to have a little talk, a little discussion today about how weather affects bass in the month of March, because in my opinion, weather is the most critical factor in the month of March out of any other month of the year. I'm going to explain why in today's video and sort of some things you can do to sort of take advantage of that. So we'll get into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, real quick, just thank you very much for everybody that has been taking time to hit the subscribe button here to Advanced Bass Fishing. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much for everybody that's been going into my video description in every video and using my Tackle Warehouse link for your fishing gear purchases. I get messages from you guys occasionally say, hey, Randy, I'd use your link to buy a reel or something. Thank you very much for me and my family. Anytime you do that, the channel gets a small percentage of the commission that you order from that link. So a good way to help the channel out. And like I said, my family and I really appreciate everybody that's doing that. Thank you very much. Okay. Every month of the year is different in terms of how weather impacts, how the fish bite or if they don't bite. And there's a lot of different factors in this. A lot of it has to do with the different type of water temperatures you have throughout the year, water levels, sort of like the stage that the fish are in. But out of my experience and all the years I got fishing, here's sort of what I have found about it. Wintertime and summertime, those two seasons, which is, 6 months out of the year, those are when weather patterns have the least amount of effect on fish. In other words, they don't really do a lot of different stuff if it's raining or something. For example, if it's August or something and say a big thunderstorm rolls through in August, which is rare, but it happens, those fish aren't going to just immediately make a move and start biting because it's raining. And it's the same in the wintertime. It's like if you have some type of a weather pattern in the wintertime, fish don't really do much different. It's like, and I think a lot of it has to do with those two temperature extremes. The temperature extremes and the mood of the fish at the time don't make them react to weather as much. They're pretty consistent day in and day out. I don't care what the weather is. Now, the 2 times a year that they are biggest, the weather plays the biggest impact that you'll know right off the bat is in the spring and the fall time of the year. We'll talk about fall in a later video, but in specifically the month of March, I have found is the most weather sensitive month of the entire year. I don't really know for sure why that is. I just know it is. I know it's a reality from fishing for decades and decades. I've seen this reproducible pattern, and probably a combination, like I said, of water temperatures, time of the day, the sort of the stage the fish are in, pre-spawn, in and around the spawn. There's different things that affect that. But I can tell you right off the bat, guys, when there's a bad cold front that goes through in the month of March, it has the biggest impact that I have ever seen on a fish. And also, if you have a prefrontal condition, it also has a big impact on the fish in a positive light. So there's 2 different scenarios here that you're going to deal with. In March, especially towards mid and late March, when it starts to get a little warmer, that is when you start having those more impactful cold fronts that come through. A little bit of severe weather, maybe southern part of the country, you start to get severe storms or something. But here's what you're going to notice in the month of March. Once that water temperature starts to get into the 50s, anytime that you have some type of a prefrontal condition, and I don't mean like a front is it's right ready to roll through. I'm talking about, let's say you're watching the weather and there's a frontal system, 500 miles west of where you live at. Every single day as that frontal system approaches your area, you're going to start noticing it. You're going to have normally you're going to have a little bit increase in the wind speed. The winds are predominantly going to be coming out of the south, southwest, something like that. Depending upon the type of front, you may have some clouds begin to move in. You may have some, the light intensity is different. You may have some cirrus clouds, different type of prefrontal things. The barometric pressure is probably going to be steady, or it's going to start falling a little bit more each day. And normally in March, as that front approaches, even if it's a couple days out, you start to get an increase in wind speed. Now, when you have this, those are excellent fishing conditions out there. Those are the conditions that really activate the bass. And bass in the month of March respond to those weather patterns more than any other time of year. If you have these conditions, what I'm talking about, where you've got warm weather, south wind, a little bit of clouds coming in, barometric pressure on the way down, when you have those factors together, in the month of March, that's when those bigger fish will get aggressive, and that's when they bite bigger baits. So that's when you need to be power fishing. Pay close attention to this. Start picking up your baits, the bigger power type baits, once that front is on the way. Big spinner bait, big square bill crankbait, jig, full-size Alabama rig, bigger swim baits, maybe even a glide bait. Take advantage of that scenario as that front is on the way, because that is when you're going to do your damage. Now, once that front rolls through, that is when you also notice the big impact and turnaround in the other direction. A lot of times you'll come through, it'll be bluebird skies, the wind will be howling 20 miles an hour out of the north, temperature will drop 20 degrees, and they're not going to be aggressive on those type of baits, or they're simply not going to bite them. So you can expect fishing to be a little bit tougher after that front rolls through, but you can still catch them even after that. And a couple different ways that I like to fish it, based upon how long has it been after that front rolled through. If the front rolls through and you still got your wind, like say for example, the front rolls through 8 o'clock at night, you wake up the next morning and it's windy, but it's clear a little bit. A lot of times you can still catch them on those bigger moving baits, like the spinner baits and crankbaits and stuff like that. But once your wind starts dissipating and you maintain that clear skies and you sort of get a day or two into the front, that's when it's going to get a lot tougher. And that's normally when you have to go to your bottom bouncing lures, like your net shaky heads, your jigs, your Ned rigs, your worms, football heads, jigs, something like that. About a day after the front, the fish really don't want to chase. And normally you're going to find that the second day after a front rolls through, that's when the fishing gets a lot tougher. A lot of times it's not the first day, it's always the second day after it goes through. And then the cycle repeats itself. I mean, things start to stabilize a little bit. After 2 or 3 or 4 days, the wind starts to switch around back out of the south. You start to get a little more humidity in the air. The atmosphere starts to get a little bit more, cloud cover on it, and the cycle repeats itself. So that's just one of the things that you sort of have to deal with in the month of March more than anything else. But the main thing that you need to remember that I want to stress in this video is, in the month of March, pay closer attention to the weather forecast than any other month, and try to gauge and plan your trips around it. If you can schedule your trips at different times of the month, look at those frontal systems coming through. And if you can get off on a Friday, Saturday, or Wednesday, try to get out there like the day before that front rolls through. You're going to notice a huge difference in how good that fishing is. So I just wanted to pass that along with you guys, and hope it helps you catch some more, and we'll talk later.